Job Club. We are so glad that you joined us on this fourth Tuesday of February. And we're going to get started soon with our presentation. And we just welcome each and every one of you. All right. So are you going to have to do my slides, Caroline? I'm not seeing my ability to do that. We welcome everyone that is on Zoom webinar, as well as our audience here in person at the Fayette County Extension Office, as well as those of you that are joining us on Facebook Live. If you would, please take the time to tell us where you are viewing from in our chat box. We'd love to hear that. And we're anxious to see just how far out throughout the state that we may have some participants today. So today's agenda is we will have our success stories. We will obviously introduce our main speaker. We're going to share some active job leads and give some partner updates, as well as tell you about the next time at Job Club. Our mission, it's to provide a positive environment for job seekers to network and learn best practices for the job search. We meet the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, and you can find our schedule at www.ukalumni.net/jobclub. I want to introduce our team. This is our facilitators who work on Job Club from week to week, month to month, year to year. So I'm Diana Doggett. I am an extension specialist at the University of Kentucky Family Consumer Sciences Extension. We have Caroline Francis, who is the Director of Alumni Career Services with the UK Alumni Association. Amanda Shagny is the Assistant Director. And Nicole Waite is an Employment Specialist with UK STEPS Temporary Employment. We also have some backup team members who are invaluable, and they are Suzanne Smith and Sunny Saylor from the Fayette County Extension Office. We have Queen Sullivan, Christy Kaufman, and Lindsay Cotto from the UK Alumni Association. Job Club is currently hosted in hybrid format, and that means, as I said initially, that we're here in person at Fayette County. We have a vast audience on Zoom webinar, and then we have those that are joining us on Facebook Live. The only chat moderator available, however, is on Zoom webinar. We want to reference our free Job Club resource packet because it does contain a whole source of resources for you to visit, utilize, and perhaps it will answer some questions in the interim during the times that we are not meeting. So check that out again on our website. We want to also encourage all participants and attendees to join the Central Kentucky Job Club sharing community on LinkedIn. And that will give you an opportunity to be updated on resource articles as well as job leads. Employers and recruiters are always welcome at Job Club. In-person employer guests may have a 1-minute spotlight to share active job leads with the group later on in the program. Watch your email later today for job leads that have been sent and shared with the Job Club team. We want to remind you that some attendees are conducting a confidential job search. So let's please be respectful of their privacy in their job search. Check out job-related articles that are included in our Job Club reminded emails, and very, very important to announce that we do have recordings and PowerPoint slides that are available on all the job search strategies. So you can find that again on our website. So we're going to give a shout out. Welcome to our first timers. So if you are a first timer, would you just raise your hand? We have some here in the audience. So for those of you that are on virtually attending, would you tell us if you're a first timer as well? We always like to acknowledge that, how many people have joined us for the first time, and remind you that you will receive a follow-up survey later on today. And this feedback will place your information in our notification system so that we'll be able to tell you in advance of the great programming and resources that are available. So you can also scan the QR code and complete it now if you so choose. Success stories. We always love to hear back from what's happened during the last 2 weeks, and success stories is, we could list a whole array of what we define as success. So if you've had an interview, if you have revised your resume, you've extended your network, you've joined LinkedIn, if you've done that, and we do have a success story here in the audience that's going to share with us right now, so we're excited about that. And the rest of you, give us some insight to what you've been doing in the chat box.
Good morning. My name's Steve McConaughey. So I just want to say I had attended in person 2 weeks ago, and I completely revamped my resume, and I feel really good about it. But as a result, I also attended UK's career fair, and I got a interview the very next day from one of the connections I made, plus another connection I made physically handed my resume to the hiring manager. So I'm still waiting to possibly hear back from that one. And aside from that, I had another interview, again, with that resume that I revamped, and I was offered a position. So, success. Yeah. And I can't thank you all enough, for sure. I mean, this has been instrumental, and also my career coach, Mackenzie Haynes. I don't know if she's online, but she was also extremely instrumental in this whole process. So yeah, thank you all.
Oh, Stephen, we couldn't be more thrilled to hear that. And he has been joining us for the last 2 to 3 sessions, and we've had an opportunity to get to know you, and obviously you've been able to share. And so this is a culmination of some great success for not only Job Club, but most importantly, you. Great news. All right, we are ready to start our session. You are going to not only enjoy this, but need this in your job search. What's happening in Kentucky and nationally, and how can it redirect maybe your job search? So it is my pleasure to introduce Ryan Kaffenberger. He has an MBA. He's a senior associate, finance and workforce development with the Kentucky Council of Postsecondary Education. Ryan, you have presented before. It was awesome, and we know today is going to be just as good. So thank you in advance for sharing with us today.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys for having me. It is always a pleasure to be invited back. Makes me feel like I'm not terrible at my job, that I did something of value. So thank you guys for inviting me back. And yes, I do. I work for the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education. I work as a senior associate in 2 very different fields, it seems like, in finance and budget for one lens, and then workforce development from another. And so the workforce development really kind of actually stemmed from my previous career, where I last gave a presentation to this group. I used to do economic development. I was a research director for Commerce Lexington. So the local economic development organization that is contracted to do the business retention, recruitment, help existing businesses expand in Lexington and in the surrounding counties. And so had a lot of fun doing that. And now I get to do a lot of the same work, just from a different perspective, and working with higher education and working on really empowering and strengthening the pipelines of talent that really are there to meet the needs of our employers, and to ultimately strengthen our economy, strengthen the standard of their living for all of our residents here in the Commonwealth. So thank you all. And I'm going to hop right into this if I can. There we go. So we're going to talk about where we are. And then the more fun part about it, at least in my opinion, of this presentation is what's to come, right? So a little bit of a future thinking to this presentation. So again, who are we? Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education is the coordinating board overseeing all of Kentucky state universities, and then KCTCS, our two-year community college system. We are a coordinating board. We are not a governing board. We do have some responsibilities in terms of managing some certain agreements, approving and working with the institutions on submitting their biennial budgets. We have some authority over different academic programs that they can offer. So we do have some kind of power in that regard, but mainly we are a convener and we are a representative to magnify the voices of all 8 of our four-year institutions, and then KCTCS with the 16 colleges within that as well. We also do license every nonprofit and for-profit higher education institution that operates here in the Commonwealth. So where are we? Let's start at the highest level possible right now, right? So Kentucky's economy from a total employment perspective. This chart, you're going to see two tags there in the data. So June 2019 and then June 2022, which is the most recent data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that I could pull. And the trend is kind of recovery, right? You can see the dip there in early 2020. Surprise, surprise, it was COVID, right? But the reality is that we're still kind of at a level in terms of our total employment as a state to where we are beneath the pre-pandemic level. We're not too far beneath it, but we are beneath it. And I'm going to try to go through these earlier kind of where we are slides a little bit quicker. We will have a Q&A kind of time here at the end, but I want to kind of get us into some more games and then audience interaction here. So in terms of our economy, what's the kind of makeup of it, right? So from left to right, you'll see the largest industries in terms of their share of our total employment as a state, and then you'll go down to the very bottom right, particularly that little green box that's all the words are kind of running off. That's like mining and logging and quarrying, right? So really small industry. But you can see from this that nearly 30% of our employment as total comes from healthcare and social assistance and then manufacturing. Right. And so we are in kind of what's considered the Rust Belt, a large manufacturing area of the country. A lot of our automotive makers and things like that. So that's not surprising. But we do also have a critical mass of healthcare employment here as well. So unemployment rates, kind of another little high level metric that people look at to assess where we are. This one seems to really tell a positive story in many regards, right? And why the job market is still as resilient and really remains pretty hot, is that our unemployment rate is still very, very low. So you can see that the blue line is Kentucky, the red line is the US. You see the spike there with COVID as well. But then you can see kind of, again, these bookmarks. So pre-pandemic December compared to current, right? So the most recent data we have for December of 2022, and you can see that for Kentucky, we were actually at the exact same unemployment level. So 4%, and the US is almost at the exact same, so 0.1% difference. Now that's state level, right? But we know there's nuance whenever we dig into another level of detail here. And so when we look at kind of within the state, there's a big difference based on where you're located in terms of the unemployment rates in your county. And so this chart shows you and kind of maps that out. And you can see the lighter gray areas are where you have the lowest unemployment rates. Central Kentucky, right? So Northern Kentucky, Lexington, Louisville, those areas. Southwest kind of Kentucky, you've got a lot of light gray down there, but Eastern Kentucky is really where most of that unemployment is concentrated, where you've got high rates as high as 9.3%. Labor force participation rate, another metric that's in the news all the time. And as you can see from this, so again, blue is Kentucky, red is the US. Our rate is trending down compared to the US. That's not a good thing, right? So our state as a whole, and there's many reasons that kind of contribute to why this happens, whether it's our demographics, right? We talk about substance abuse issues, opioids, things like that, those impacts. There's a myriad of different issues that really leads to why our labor force participation rate tracks below the US average. But the most disappointing thing I would say in this chart is that last section of 2022. So you can see leading into December 2022, we have a downward trajectory as a state compared to the US as a whole, which is flat, if not increasing. So ultimately, we're not back to where we were pre-pandemic at 59%. We're still like, I think it's 1.4% beneath that. And this is a huge metric, guys. This is something that we really, as an agency, are focused on, is getting people in the labor force, right? And to have more people to be able to fill those jobs and meet the demands of employers. So I know you guys are really, really interested in, right? Like, how's the job market? Let's start at a national level. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics produces a survey every month called the Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey. And this is going to be kind of the format for each one of these slides here following. So the red line is total separations. So as many people as quit. So that could be layoffs, people who were discharged, people who voluntarily quit. So retirements, it could even include people who died, right? And so they're no longer working, obviously. Blue line is job openings, orange line is hires. And you can see there, right at, again, the spike, we see those total separations go up with the beginning of the pandemic. And we can still see, though, that job openings over those, that orange line hires, there's still a significant gap. So in December 2022, there were approximately 11 million job openings at the end of the month, while only 6.2 million hires were made in that month. So this shows, like, again, job openings are way above hiring. So this is kind of one of those comparisons where people look at and say, hey, the job market is still very, very hot. Again, this is nationally. But when we go down, and I'll flash to the next slide here at the Kentucky level, so same kind of setup here. We see that blue line, while not as much higher than the hires rate nationally, 150,000 job openings at the end of the month in December 2022, 93,000 hires made in the month. We can still see that there is a significant gap. There are about 60,000 job openings. And so employers are really just struggling to keep up. It's a good sign for us as workers, right? Like, so if we're employees, this is time to negotiate. You're valuable to your employers, and as it has been. We've got some bargaining power here, and people need us. So this kind of adds up, and these are some summary metrics that really just illustrate the circumstance, the really unique circumstance and market that we're in right now. There's only approximately 52 unemployed persons for every 100 job openings nationally. Just like, let that sink in right now. So even if those 52 unemployed people had exactly the right skills for each one of those job openings, just perfect matches, only a little over half of those would be filled. That's kind of the experience that we have as a country. And even more so, it's what we have as a state, right? So 54 unemployed persons for every 100 job openings in Kentucky. The job openings greatly exceed those unemployed population. And ultimately, that leads to a really competitive labor market. So today's challenge really is, it's a shortage of qualified workers. This is a really great report. You can see the graphic there on the left, the Kentucky's workforce crisis, 20 years in the making. The Kentucky Chamber Foundation put together this report, came back out in, I think, September of 2021. And it did a really good job of depicting the important role that higher education, and really just any post-secondary credential, makes in this current environment that we're in. And so you can see some data there. Only 30% of job openings require a high school diploma or less. Very, very, very small amount. While 65, depending on the estimates that they looked at and different kind of qualifications, 65 to 85% of jobs require training, credentialing, or degrees beyond high school. And so ultimately, we still see, guys, there is a value to higher education. There's a value to post-secondary credentials, and in terms of the skills, the knowledge that you acquire. So this kind of breaks down those higher metrics. So we looked at job openings nationally, and sadly, the JOLTS report is what they call it, right? The Bureau of Labor Statistics report does not report this same data at the state level. So sadly, I can't break this out by industry for the state. But from a national perspective, this takes that number of approximately 11 million job openings, right, and breaks it out into each industry that is kind of composes that. And so you can see there that there's super sectors and there's sectors. So super sectors are kind of these large groupings. And so we see, for instance, education and health services, that brown box, is healthcare and social assistance, and then educational services. Same thing, professional business services is both a sector and a super sector, so the blue box. And then we have leisure and hospitality, so which is made up of kind of subsectors, right, of accommodation and food services and arts, entertainment, recreation. So again, left to right, we're going to see the largest super sectors in terms of the portion of those job openings that they make up. And we see that healthcare, social assistance, and educational services, so education and health, are the leading industries in terms of those job openings. We hear a lot about the workforce shortage in terms of healthcare. That is very, very, very true. Educational services, teachers, right? They're included in that as well. So it's very, very interesting to see that they are truly make up such a huge portion of the job openings. And then there's professional business services. We hear a lot of this turnover and people hopping job, going back and forth and continually transitioning. That's really depicted in that professional business services in this kind of corporate world. You think of accountants and finance and these sorts of professionals, marketing, these things. That's really where a lot of that transition and job hopping is happening. So ultimately, we can see they're kind of the rankings, top 5 for each one. Professional business services as far as a single industry, followed by healthcare and social assistance, accommodation and food services. So again, more low wage. You're thinking your restaurants, fast food places, stuff like that. Retail trade, so your shops and stuff like that, but also like Amazon's included in retail trade. So we hear a lot about all the e-commerce growth that happened over the pandemic. That's still very, very true. And then 5th is actually really interesting, is state and local government. We don't hear a lot about the hiring issues that state and local governments are having, but it's there. It's very present. We'll get into more detail about that here in a little bit. When we break down the same numbers, so hires, right, we said approximately 6 million at the end of December nationally. So we're breaking that out by industry as well. And the interesting thing is that color changed, right? So healthcare and social assistance was leading in terms of job openings, but in terms of the actual hires that are being made, all of a sudden retail trade, right, transportation, warehouse, utilities, this almost kind of distribution sector is now leading, right? Professional business services still second, which really gets at, again, that high rate of churn where they have a lot of job openings, but they also are hiring a lot at the same time. So it's just a rapid amount of turnover. And we see that healthcare and social assistance, educational services, so the education health super sector drops down to 4th, right? So that's a mismatch right there. And so you can see the difference between job openings that industries have and then their ability to fill those positions in terms of the hires that they're making in the same month. And this chart really is one of my favorite charts to talk about because not a lot of times do you see in the media or really elsewhere people talking about, okay, well, they have job openings, but is it really depicting true unmet labor demand? Meaning they truly cannot fill those jobs. Well, the best measure that we have to get at that is called the job openings to hires ratio. So we take those two measures I just showed you guys in those two different charts, take job openings, divide that by the hires that were made in the same month, make a ratio out of that, and you get what's shown on this chart. So a 1-to-1 ratio would say job openings are exactly equal to the number of hires. But as this chart depicts, all of these industries are above a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning job openings exceed the number of hires in that month greatly across all of these industries. So all of them would be indicated and classified as high need, right? Given how this metric has historically been used. Again, showing truly how hot the labor market and resilient the labor market still is today. But this is a metric that shows really how much difficulty are people having filling those jobs. And again, look at those top 5. Finance and insurance. Whoa, we didn't even look at that in those last 2 charts. Finance and insurance, top industry. Federal government, state and local government is 3rd. And then healthcare and social assistance, real estate, rental, and leasing. We don't even see professional business services on there. We see it, professional business services is, yeah, it's still like, again, all high need. But relative to these other industries, it's smack in the middle there at 1.73, showing truly the amount of turnover that's happening there, where it's not necessarily you don't have enough people. It's just that people are hopping from one place to another place to another place to another place, right? And so the argument that's made from this data is really the highest need industries for us to support and the highest need places for in terms of workforce shortage would be things like finance, insurance, government, healthcare, and social assistance, right? These are the areas that need the most professionals, that truly have unmet labor demand. Ultimately, again, yes, all of the industries are high need, but in terms of ranking and trying to get a priority list of the highest need, this is a really good way of getting at that. So what about the Great Resignation? Everyone's talked a lot about this. Let's get into it. So let's look at quits from a US perspective, right? So same survey, job openings, labor turnover survey from your labor statistics. And this is the same time period, right? So 2012 to 2022. All I did here was I pulled out and isolated quits, the number of quits that happened in each one of these months, and we can see a steady trajectory up. I mapped a linear kind of trend line on there, which is what that dotted line is. And you can see it's not a new thing, guys. We see the tick up there, right? So from 2021 into the early parts of 2022, COVID-19 definitely accelerated, right? As we've heard a lot, it didn't create a lot of new issues. It just accelerated long-term trends. Things came a bit faster than we thought they were going to come. But ultimately, the issue now is this has gotten to a level that employers, economists, like our policymakers, it's gotten to a point where we can't ignore it anymore, right? People have been quitting at incredibly high rates and at an increasing rate. And this has just ultimately gotten to a place where we can't ignore it anymore. Then the interesting thing is we see at the very end there that the trend is really kind of coming back. So after COVID accelerated it, we can see it start dipping back down, back to that trend line again. We look at the same thing from a state perspective. People have been quitting for quite a while now. And while there's more volatility, again, because we're looking at a single state versus US, which is kind of like an average, right, of all of the states and all the effects of different economies and structures and job markets that are impacting that. So it smooths it out a little bit. We have a little bit more volatility here, but ultimately the trend is the exact same. Quitting has happened for a long time. It was accelerated at the beginning of the pandemic. But it is kind of coming back towards that long-term trend. So with 69,000 quits in October 2022. So the data, the most recent data for the state level is a little bit farther behind that of the national level. So why are people quitting? Pew Research Center are a really great nonpartisan fact tank is what they call themselves. They really don't make any policy implications. They do a lot of surveying, a lot of data analysis and pulling stuff in and just letting the facts speak for themselves. They did an analysis back in 2021, looking at the top 5 reasons for why workers quit a job in 2021. Surprise, surprise. Number 1, low pay. 2, no opportunities for advancement. People want to move up. 3, feeling disrespected at work. Childcare issues as well. We've heard a lot about that. Childcare is expensive and you got to weigh the pros and cons, right? So people leaving the workforce to be able to go home. And then flexibility. We were just talking about this before we had this meeting with Caroline and leadership here. Flexibility is a huge, huge benefit that a lot of people don't want to give up. It's a very, very, very positive thing for people's mental health and well-being, ability to balance priorities. And so they found that was a very big cause as well. You can see some other theirs as well in the charts, but ultimately really, really interesting study by Pew Research Center getting at kind of the drivers of this great resignation that we call it. So what's to come? This is the fun part, guys. We get to talk about the future. First and foremost, I do not have a crystal ball. The fact of forecasting is it's not if you're going to be wrong, it's just how wrong you're going to be. And the whole goal is we try to minimize as wrong as we can be, minimize that variance, minimize that error there as much as we can, and try to be as precise as we can. But the reality is we don't have crystal balls. We can't predict the future. And I love this quote. I thought it was kind of funny. So I'm just going to read through it. People have always had this craving to have someone tell them the future. Long ago, kings would hire people to read sheep guts. So be thankful I'm not showing you a picture of sheep guts. There's always been a market for people who pretend to know the future. Listening to today's forecasters is just as crazy as when the king hired the guy to look at the sheep guts. It happens over and over and over. And so that's Charlie Munger, one of the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. So guy who's really involved and looking into the future of the market in his business. And so just thought it was kind of funny. I will be wrong, guys. That's the reality. But the reality, just because we're going to be wrong doesn't mean that we shouldn't be thinking about the future, right? We need to be ahead and try to get a step ahead as much as we can and use data, use different analytical methods of getting there. The demographic drought. So another topic that's been brought up a lot. We talk about nobody's having kids, right? Our population is decreasing. This is one of the biggest issues that we are going to be confronting for the next century, possibly, right? So this report here you see on the graph, a group called MZ Burning Glass, now they've actually rebranded to Lightcast, I believe is their name, produces a lot of real-time labor market information, a lot of great data. They produce a report based on this demographic drought that the country as a whole is facing. And so they coined this phrase called, we're entering a SANS-demic. So SANS means without, demic means people. So this idea that we were talking about a pandemic, but we're going to be entering a SANS-demic that may last, again, and shows no sign of turning around for the next century. Again, because of birth rates, right? And immigration, all these different policy issues. And so you can see there, just the U.S. is suffering with the beginning phases of a great SANS-demic, a demographic drought that is projected to worsen throughout the century and will impact every business, every college, and every region. It will spare nobody in the U.S. Current drivers are things like baby boomer retirements. We've heard about that a lot. Such a large cohort of our population all retiring and leaving the labor force. Declining labor force participation rate, specifically among millennials. There's a lot of reasons that people have argued for causing that. A lot of it is also we're just starting to start our families. I say we because I'm 30 years old and I'm a millennial, right? Just bought my first house, kind of settling down, right? And hopefully being able to start a family. And when that happens, people will drop out of the labor force. And so there's a lot of different reasons that kind of contribute behind this. Low birth rates. And again, like I talked about, reductions in immigration, which is obviously a very complex topic. But again, consistent with this theme, right? So I talked about it with quits. COVID didn't create anything new. And the authors of this report even said the same thing. So even before the pandemic, the U.S. was set up to face a talent deficit of 6 million people by the end of the decade. 6 million people, a deficit. Then the COVID-19 pandemic hit and the accelerator on many of these long-term trends, right? So just sped up what was already happening. We'll look into this a little bit more detail, and I kind of explain these charts here. So the left is the number of over time, right, of people who are 55 plus, so imminent retirees, like they're going to retire soon. Middle is the prime age workforce, so 25 to 54 years old. And then you see the right side, those entering the workforce, 16 to 24. And looking at those left charts specifically in the right chart, those are not trends that we want to see. Right. So the fact that more people are about to retire than there are people coming into the workforce, and that amount is dropping and decreasing year after year. So ultimately, more Americans are reaching retirement age than there are young workers entering the workforce. As such, an aging population with more people leaving the workforce than entering means that business will depend on a decreasing pool of workers. So the labor market is already hot. But when you have circumstances where you have a declining number of people entering the workforce and more people vacating positions, right, as they enter these retirement years, that labor market is likely to tend to stay very hot, right? Now, there may be some anomalies. We're talking about the economic uncertainty of 2023 and this kind of recession that people think is coming and things like that, and all the division there. Ultimately, yeah, you may have some anomalies throughout the cycle, but if we look at 10-year, 20-year trends, right, we look throughout multiple cycles, this is going to be a factor that's going to remain, right? That we do have more people retiring and we have less people entering the workforce. It's just going to lead to employers leading on less people and a decreasing pool of workers. So this one's interesting. I'm the child of baby boomers, and so I tease my parents about this all the time. But you see the chart there, you can see like the US birth rate. So it's births per 1,000 population. And you see the baby boom itself, that big acceleration that kind of ticked up 1949, 1959 area. And then you see it drop, and it just stays low and kind of keeps on going downwards. So interestingly, one of the big reasons that we're in this demographic drought is because boomers were born themselves into families with an average of 4 children. I always tease, my mom was born into a family of 8. Massive. I've got a boss who was born into a family of like 12, which is just mind-blowing to me. But boomers themselves had an average of 1.8 children. So you do the math there, ultimately, they didn't replace themselves, right? There weren't enough kids to replace the large amount of boomers that came before. And so by 2030, all baby boomers are going to be 65 or older. And by 2034, older adults will outnumber children for the first time in U.S. history. That is wild. The implications of that are huge on our healthcare systems, right? We hear that a lot about on our retirement systems. I mean, the implications are massive for our economy, from policy perspective, from an education perspective. I mean, there's so much to be gathered from that one single trend that by 2034, older adults will outnumber children for the first time in U.S. history. And that really shows the significance of this demographic drought we're hitting. So why does it matter? And I could have kind of put this in my own words, but I've decided just to copy this on here and read it out because I think they put it in really good words themselves. So these shortages will affect quality of life for everyone. When a shipping company is short tens of thousands of truck drivers, it means packages arrive late and essential goods go missing from grocery store shelves. When hospitals can't find enough nurses, life-saving treatments get delayed, and short-staffed, sleep-deprived medical teams make critical mistakes. When corporations can't fill high-tech security roles, everyday people are left vulnerable to data breaches and cyber attacks. Without enough people working to provide the goods and services we've come to expect, prices go up, and the speed and quality of service goes down. There will not be a business, a college, or a region that is not impacted by this demographic drought. This is one of the most significant and arguably the most foundational challenge that we are going to have going into the future for our workforce and for our economy as a whole. So let's play a game. This is where we're going to get a little bit of audience participation. So I was told that you guys love working in the chat box and kind of putting kind of observations in there. And so I'm going to ask for you guys, if you're multitasking, focus on the presentation here because I'm going to need your attention and need your focus, okay? So what's going to follow is a map of the most common jobs in every state from 1978 to 2014. So it's a little bit dated. I'm using a study from a group called from out of the University of Minnesota, I believe it was. And so it was from years back. And this is really just to serve you guys getting your minds in a way to think about, again, what's happening with the labor force, what's happening with our job composition going into the future and kind of some of these different factors that can impact it. So each one of these maps is going to show up. I want you guys to make note of any changes or themes that you're seeing, right? So taking note of what jobs are where over time and what jobs were all over the place, but then vanished, right? Cashiers, I think, are excluded. So there's some different jobs that would clearly be the most common in general for overall. So a few select positions were excluded from this analysis, but we'll just hop straight into it. So I'll go through these kind of slowly, try to let you guys get a good observation. And we're going to start here in 1978. You can see the color coding there, a lot of machine operators, secretaries, farmers, right? And I'm not going to give you any more observations from here on out. So I'm just going to flip through. I love seeing things already in the chat. Keep them coming. Pay attention. There's new things popping up, right? A couple things are disappearing. We're into the turn of the century here. Ooh, top left corner there. That's interesting. All right, so that's through 2014. All right, I know I went through this fast to a degree, right? Like I was trying to slow down, but I also got to progress through. I do love seeing some observations that were already popping up in the chat. And again, this is to just get you guys thinking, right? Because we don't know the future, but we can see trends, right? And to be able to look at kind of how things and learn from history, right? So what did you see? Write your observations in the chat if you can. Yeah, I believe there's going to be actually the PowerPoints or slides are shared. I'm not sure, Caroline, if that's the case or not, but I believe you guys will actually have a link to this and then the sources cited in here as well. Oh, secretaries. That's interesting. I'm not sure if they became truck drivers. That's an interesting insight. All right, so let's go. Did you notice changes in machine operators? I haven't seen anybody in the chat talking about machine operators. So the very beginning. Oh, increases in software developers. Yep, right. So secretaries, people have talked about that already. Farmers, software developers. So near the latter end, right? So 2000s, early 2000s into late 2000s, we started seeing computer analysts and software developers. And then truck drivers. We saw truck drivers absolutely everywhere. Automation decreased machine operators. We're going to get into that. Let's have that conversation. So my next question would be, what do you think this map would look like today? Are there any specific occupations you think would pop up on this map? Go ahead and throw, if you got any in the chat here, any specific occupations you think would just pop up. I know personally for me, I'm thinking of all the Amazon warehouse kind of things, right? The e-commerce and those sorts of jobs. So packers and material handlers and stuff. I think that those may really hop up personally. Finance, so cybersecurity, supply chain, a lot of logistics related stuff. So those are some major industry trends. Yeah, some of those could be in there. So what will it look like in 10 years? Think about the technological innovations that are happening right now. The things that are changing not just the way we work, but the jobs, right, that we work. Lots of hybrid jobs, more computer related jobs. Yeah. And that's interesting, right? So they didn't look at like hybrid versus like physical in place person jobs, but yeah, you would think of jobs that can be done more remotely, maybe receiving a little bit more acceleration, right? Less people, more automated jobs. Oh, I love the conversation about automation, you guys. You're ahead and you're on the right track. So let's look at the best kind of example here I can point to. So truck drivers, y'all point out. Truck drivers boomed like crazy for two reasons. For a long time, they have been immune to two important factors: globalization and automation. So while a person in another country may still not be able to today to drive a truck in the US, machines are beginning to, guys. Like this is a reality. Like I've got a father-in-law who works for a major restaurant chain and deals with logistics and distribution. I mean, we talk about this regularly about they're kind of dabbling in again these automated self-driving trucks and stuff. What are those truck drivers all going to do? This is the question that we as a council are asking ourselves, right? Because we're talking about these jobs are going to vanish eventually, right? If the trend goes. So what are those truck drivers going to do? How are we going to help them transition into new jobs? If you kind of doubt it, here's an example. 26, I think it is, self-driving car companies that are shaping the future. You'll see some familiar faces in there. You got Tesla's logo in there, Uber. But a lot of these other startups you probably aren't familiar with. But the interesting thing is that they're transforming transportation for personal vehicles, emergency vehicles, or ambulances, right? How can we implement self-driving vehicles in the emergency services and improve their response time? Commercial vehicles, like I said, so trucks, right? You think of small trucks doing kind of handling and stuff, but then you also think of the large big wheelers on the interstate. And the reality is, guys, states are already taking legislative action. So like this is a reality to the point at which policymakers are changing their policies as a whole. And so this map here on the left, see green is a state that has enacted actual legislation. Blue is that a governor has passed an executive order. The orangish color is both of those, right? And so Nevada was the first state to authorize the operation of autonomous vehicles. Not super big surprise, simply because they have very clear population epicenters and they live in a very flat and desert kind of area where they don't have a lot of danger, right, of the self-driving vehicle harming somebody if it didn't work right. So a really good testing ground. But ultimately, 29 states and Washington, D.C. have all enacted legislation related to autonomous vehicles. If you're interested, Kentucky's legislation that they passed actually pertains specifically to commercial vehicle platoons. So this is like when the technology that's out there where they have a truck driver who's at the front, and they have a human is driving that truck, but then there are multiple trucks behind them that are actually like following his lead that are automated. So instead of having like six truck drivers, wow, can't talk, driving those six trucks, they have one driver, and then the 5 other trucks behind them are just following that one's lead. So they actually had a piece of legislation that changed the bans on basing on how close those trucks can follow and give exception to these platoons. Just some interesting information. So automation and artificial intelligence, it is all over the news right now, and it's a major disruption. Does anyone recognize this logo? Put it in the chat if you recognize it. Come on, somebody's got to recognize this logo. Please. Nope, not Atomic Energy. It's a company. GBT. I think you're almost there. It's ChatGPT. If everyone has kind of opened the news, ChatGPT, the software artificial intelligence by OpenAI, this company. So it's an AI-powered chatbot developed. It uses deep learning techniques to generate human-like responses to text inputs in a conversational manner. If you have not given this a kind of play around online, I highly recommend it. You can just Google ChatGPT. It's still free. They're kind of like demoing it, but it is one of the most powerful uses of AI I have seen in a very long time. It's pretty staggering what you can do with this AI interface. And here's some just really interesting headlines. So ChatGPT passed exams from law and business schools, getting its MBA, and it's trying to pass the bar exam. The reality is it's passed. It in many cases didn't have exactly an A, but it got a passing grade in many of these exams. A man used AI to write and illustrate a children's book in one weekend. He got a huge backlash because apparently these artists were like, oh, these AIs are just scraping data from over different websites and stuff like that. So they're actually stealing my artistic work and implementing into your children's book that you just used to illustrate using these tools. And so that one's really interesting. We asked ChatGPT to write a layoff memo. It was remarkable. If you just Google this headline, read the story, it is remarkable how much these layoffs memos look like the ones that we've seen recently from like the Microsofts and Googles, right? Some of these major kind of headline layoffs that have happened. And then this one's most interesting. My boss actually sent me this one. A rabbi used ChatGPT to write a sermon. His congregation's reaction made him deathly afraid. They loved it, guys. Like, we're absolutely convinced that it was not an AI generated sermon. Absolutely wild. Very interesting article. Give that a read as well. But the reality is, guys, this is like disrupting every business, every boardroom right now. It's disrupting higher education massively. And how do we do exams, right? It's a huge, huge impact. So what does it mean, right, for the future of work? So I'm going to kind of condense these charts. These are some of my favorite charts to work. And once you kind of wrap your head around it, you'll see the beauty of them. So from left, it's kind of left to right, right? So you have each one of these industries. And these are the same industries that we looked at when we were breaking down those job openings and hires, right? So you've got accommodation, food services, manufacturing, healthcare, social assistance, those sort of jobs, those sort of industries, I should say. And this group called McKinsey Global Institute basically broke down each industry, the jobs in those industries, and the types of activities that were used in those jobs at those industries, and broke them down by how easily automated they are. So management was one kind of activity, applied expertise, so strategic thinking, interfacing with stakeholders was another one, unpredictable physical labor, data collection, data processing, and then predictable physical labor. And so you can see from our ability, the automation potential, that the more blue a color is, the less subject to automation that skill, that activity is. And then the more red it is, the more easily automated that is as well. all of that is compiled, right? And they did an analysis looking at all these jobs that make up these industries, all the activities in those jobs, and they created a percentage, a single percentage that is at that far right, so the bar, which is the automation potential for that industry. And we can see at the very top, the highest automation potential was 73% of the activities within that industry being subject to automation is accommodation food services. Very low wage jobs, but you're thinking about this. I mean, there's already many like Panera. Go to Panera and you have a kiosk that you order from now. That's a really simple thing, but that's one less person, right? You don't need that person to take orders as much anymore. Manufacturing is number 2. That's scary, 60% of automation potential, right? The interesting thing is we'll hop down to the bottom on the other side, right? So educational services, which is essentially all applied expertise. It's interfacing with students, right? Those are your stakeholders as an educator. And so only 27% of the activities in that industry are able to be automated easily. So let's apply this. Let's check this, apply this to our industry kind of composition as a state. So you guys remember those numbers I showed at the very beginning, looking at our employment and then breaking it out, right? So manufacturing, healthcare, social assistance made up like 30% of our total employment as a state. And you can see there at the left, right, the automation potential going down, the amount of employment there. So accommodation food service, 169,756 jobs. Manufacturing, 250,516. That's why I said it's kind of scary, right? The good thing is healthcare and social assistance is a low automation potential industry, and we have 283,000 jobs in that area. And I kind of applied this is not something that was in the report, but I try to categorize them in 3 categories: high, medium, or low categories. And you can see high is greater than 50% of automation potential, medium is 40 to 50%, and then low is less than 40%. And so you can see ultimately in that high category, 43% of our total employment as a state is subject to high automation potential, meaning over 50% of those activities can be automated. So the reality is, guys, this is going to shake up our job composition. It's going to change the nature of our jobs. But the beautiful thing, and this is kind of what I want to promise here with this, there's been a lot of studies on how different industrial revolutions, technological change has impacted the job markets. And there's a ton of resources I could have pulled in here. The reality is automation, transformation technologically, while it may eliminate some jobs, it always has been shown to net increase the number of jobs. The jobs change, right? The composition, the type of jobs change, but ultimately more jobs are created than are eliminated. Every single time we've had a major wave of technological innovation, that's been true. And so most economists look for the same trend to hold, again, with applying automation, artificial intelligence, this kind of 4th industrial revolution that we're referring to. So COVID-19, it, like we said, accelerated things, particularly the adoption of automation AI. So same group, McKinsey Global Institute, asked executives said since the start of COVID-19 outbreak, how has your company's or business areas adoption of the following technology trends changed? So this is around 800 CEOs who responded to this. 68% of those said it accelerated, right? 68%. Over 2/3 of executives said that COVID-19 actually pushed this timetable forward in terms of how much they're including in looking and investing into automation and AI. So what does this mean for work, right? Like, we're going to have a lot of truck drivers. We got to reskill and upskill. Like, that's a perfect example of this. They're not the only ones. But again, same group did a study on this and looking at by country. So for the US, you're going to have 10.1%. That's what that top number is, right, in this post-COVID-19 scenario. So they have pre-COVID estimates, so 7.9%. After COVID, with the acceleration that happened there, they're now projecting that 10.1% of Americans may need to transition to a new job by 2030. And ultimately, that would numerically, that comes down to 17.1 million workers, right? So these are adults primarily, right, who are going to have to change it. So we have to talk about, again, how are we gonna help them change and help them continue to be skilled up and viable contributors to our economy. So how are we responding as an agency? We have many ways that we are responding. One, CPE response, and this is a really great report. I would highly recommend you guys looking it up if you can. Again, I believe these slides should be provided as well. We produced a report called Moving Up, and it really establishes our action plan to improve economic opportunity for Kentucky adults through lifelong learning. And a lot of this is because we know that reskilling and upskilling is going to be essential. Like, we're going to have a drop in your normal high school graduates attending college, right? And we don't need to neglect those by no means. But the reality is we need to focus on adults as well. So non-traditional learners coming back to gather skills that they need to advance and make a pivot and make a transition in their career. And so our agency as a whole, this is not the only way that we're responding, but it is one of the ways that we're responding, of trying to think strategically in partnership with the institutions that we represent, to be really able to pivot as a system to help and to serve our adult learners better. And so that means increasing accessibility. That's availability and understanding of information, right? About the affordability and how to enter in and transition into higher education. It's institutional innovation, right? So changing how institutions work, flexible offerings for people who are working and trying to make a career change at the same time. So working with curriculum and faculty office hours and all of these different support services to make sure that they're there to meet adult learners' needs. And then reinforcing partnerships, and this is specifically economic partnerships with business leaders. So to really help kind of that transition into and out of the workforce, back and forth for adults between employers and higher education institutions, to make sure that those are as seamless as possible. And so these are 3 priority areas that are established, and there's a lot more said on them in the action plan. But this is one of the reasons why, one of the responses that we are having to these trends, right? This acceleration of automation, AI, and ultimately the job transitions are going to happen because of this industrial revolution. So I threw a lot at you, but now it's question time. So I'll appreciate the engagement we've already had in the chat, but if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer, or try to answer to the best of my ability. So one question: how do you propose helping adult learners afford to not be working / earning while also affording costs of higher education? So that is a very, very, very good question. And so the interesting thing is we actually have a whole student success summit that's going on right now. And that is one of the major issues. So we're talking about how do we limit these barriers in terms of kind of student basic needs is what we would call them. Things outside, right, of school, whether it's taking care of your kids or you've got an issue with your car, normal kind of concerns, barriers to education, or while working at the same time. It's not necessarily that people don't need to, people need to stop working, but when we make accommodating solutions so that they can do both at the same time, if that's possible, and at the pace that they need to do it. So I don't necessarily have any answers at this point in terms of where the rubber meets the road. I don't have necessarily all the solutions, but the reality is our agency's got some people who are really renowned experts in this area, and this is what they're actually tackling as we speak, is how can we help create support systems to be able to help those working and earning and learning, right, students to be able to succeed better. Because, I mean, in terms of affordability, there's also an element of that, right? So in terms of grant aid, making financial aid programs more available, giving information to really give adults an understanding of how affordable higher education can be if they take advantage of these different programs. A lot of it's just demystifying, right, the financial aid process and getting at truly, hey, that sticker price, you're not going to pay that price. There's a whole different price that after you get all this aid, that's going to be way cheaper. Oh yeah, so corporations as well. That is something that we are actually working with. There's actually an interesting bill right now that is being floated in the current session that our agency has been involved in, specific around healthcare, to actually have scholarships where it is a public-private match, where corporations or healthcare organizations are being tapped into, where they're providing scholarships in addition to the state to be able to help fill some healthcare positions specifically. So that kind of public-private partnership that you're talking about, getting corporations more engaged and employer-sponsored scholarships, is definitely something we're pressing into. What? do you foresee politicians working for incentives to move populations back to Kentucky or bring/attract people to the state with tax incentives? I can't necessarily speak about tax incentives in the terms of like, I don't know, like Vermont, for instance, passed some legislation that created a program for remote workers where they actually paid like $10,000 for someone to come and work in there and live in their city. It was more limited to really high-tech positions for the most part. That's a kind of more of a tax incentive. The interesting thing is I think that currently the income tax reductions that are happening at the state level, from the conversations I've had, the literature I've read, that seems to be one of the major reasons for our state reducing the income tax is trying to create an environment that more people, right, will want to live here, right, to increase in-migration into our state. And they think that eliminating the income tax and adjusting our tax structure may be a means of doing that. I won't necessarily speak to my agree or disagree on that, but from what I've seen, that is actually an example of some tax policy changes that are happening to ultimately try to, again, attract workers, attract people to live in the state and to live and work here. Hey, registered apprenticeships. Yes, we are really involved. We actually had someone from our Department of Education who was an expert in apprenticeships actually joined our staff recently. This is an area that we're really trying to press into, is to use apprenticeship models and under other industries too, and in jobs and fields that have not been seen as apprenticeable almost. And to use that kind of language, I don't know if that's a word. So that's a great opportunity. Love pointing that out, Mackenzie. That is something that we're really trying to press into as well. And kind of, again, healthcare is a first kind of step for us to try to press into that. Experience in maintenance. Are you specifically talking about like manufacturing? So trying to get experience in maintenance and manufacturing, or what are you, is there a specific kind of application area? Yeah, I mean, I don't know necessarily off the top of my head. There are some 2-year programs. I would say if you want to get in as an industrial maintenance technician, for instance, I know there are states, institutions across the state. For instance, up in Georgetown, we have the Advanced Manufacturing Center up there where people can get jobs and work in companies, getting experience while also being trained and getting a technical certificate or a technical degree to be able to be an industrial maintenance technician at, for instance, like Toyota, right? So that's at Georgetown. I know there are multiple other campuses. The Kentucky FAME program, if you're familiar with that, is a really great opportunity. I think that is actually the exact program that I'm talking about. And they have different locations across the state as well. So I would really press into those. Our KCTCS is a really great resource for that. And whatever campus is near you, just ultimately reach out and talk to them and see what opportunities, what programs, and then ultimately kind of what setups where they have, again, earn and learn programs where you can get experience and learn and get technical kind of experience there as well. Lovely questions, guys. Great. Oh, jobs for the future.
In the audience?
JFF is fantastic. Sorry for whoever put that in there. They are a often partner of CPE. We work with them greatly. So thank you. Please, everyone, do check out JFF as well.
Thank you, Ryan. Let's show our appreciation. Wow. Needless to say, I'm going to revisit this presentation in our resource on the website. So I'm sure you will too. Just amazing graphs, gave us so much to think about. And we will hear from you again, and just to see how well some of these predictions come out, Ryan. How about that? And I think he's not joined us yet. Well, we really do appreciate it.
Sounds excellent.
Okay. Well, thanks again for such a great, insightful presentation. We really appreciate it. We will now take active job leads from any employer that's in the audience. Is there anyone online? No? Okay. If you want to, you can email us job leads by noon today. And that will be a job club at uky.edu, and we'll include them in our post-meeting job lead list. advance the slides here. Okay, so our Job Club facilitator and news and programs. First, I wanted to give a shout out to Cooperative Extension. There is an office in all 120 counties throughout Kentucky. I can assure you that the programming, the resources, everything is beginning to roll right now as spring is coming into season. So do check out your Cooperative Extension office, see what they have to offer, not only from a resource perspective, but from a volunteer efforts that you might want to get involved with, as well as just all kinds of programming. UK Human Resources. We normally have an update from Nicole Waite with UK Steps. And she is not with us today, but we do want you to obviously look at this website, visit it. It's uky.edu/HR. So anyway, you can see that at the bottom of your slide. And there are so many opportunities of temporary employment with UK Steps. And Nicole will get you connected. UK Alumni Career Services, they are here to help, and there's multifaceted ways you can do that. So be sure to contact UK Alumni Career Services at .net/career if you want individual guidance in your job search. Next time at Job Club, we have the community resources for active job seekers. This is going to be really, really important and beneficial, because we're going to hear from just a whole array of professionals that are in the game right now as far as providing resources for those who are actively seeking jobs. So we want you to join us. It'll be our first session in March, and we are definitely excited. Our panels are usually so well received because you get all the different perspectives and so much information. So be sure and join us on March the 14th. And we have registration information there. If you are on Zoom, you will receive that invitation in your email. So on behalf of the UK Cooperative Extension Service, UK Alumni Association, and UK HR Temporary Employment, we want to thank you for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you again in March. Have a great day.